The first thing Ava Collins felt was his hand on her waist. Firm, warm, steady in a way that made the entire room freeze for her. She had walked right up to a stranger, asked him to pretend to be her boyfriend in front of her ex, and now she was standing in the middle of a crowded Manhattan party with a man who looked like he could destroy anyone with one move. And she didn't even know his name, but he knew exactly what he was doing. He leaned down, his voice calm and deep against her ear. "Relax. I won't hurt you." The way he said it didn't calm her. It made her heart race faster. Ava swallowed hard. 30 seconds earlier, she had marched across the ballroom like a woman with a plan. Ethan Parker, the ex who had cheated on her 2 months ago, had invited her to this event as friends, only to show up with a girl who looked like a magazine model. His arm around the girl's waist, his smile too wide, his eyes flicking to Ava every time she looked away. It felt like a slap. So when she spotted a tall, intimidating man at the bar, black suit, silver watch, sharp jawline, eyes that seemed to follow everything, she acted on impulse. Brooke begged her not to. Ava didn't listen. And now here she was, pretending to be confident while everything inside her trembled. Ethan finally noticed. He walked toward them, his fake smile disappearing. "Ava?" he asked, stunned. "What are you doing?" The man next to her, her stranger, didn't move. His thumb stroked her waist once, slow, like he was claiming her. She felt the touch everywhere. Ava forced a smile. "Ethan, this is my boyfriend." The stranger finally turned his head, and Ethan flinched as if punched by invisible force. Those green eyes were not normal. They were too calm, too observant, too dangerous. "You didn't tell me you were seeing someone," Ethan muttered. The stranger lifted an eyebrow. "Does she answer to you?" Ethan blinked. "I'm talking to Ava." "She doesn't owe you anything," the man replied, still collected, still frighteningly in control. Ethan opened his mouth, but the stranger stepped forward. He didn't raise his voice, didn't shove, didn't threaten, but Ethan stepped back anyway. Ava could feel eyes turning in their direction. People always noticed power when it walked into a room, and this man carried it without trying. Wanting to end the awkward spectacle, she tugged lightly on his sleeve. "It's okay. You helped. Thank you. I'm going to head out." He finally looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression shifted. Not softness, not anger, something sharper than both. "I'll walk you out," he said. It wasn't a question. Ava didn't want a scene, so she followed him through the ballroom, through the hallway lined with gold decor, and out into the cool Manhattan night. The air smelled like rain. His driver opened the back door of a black SUV, but the man didn't let her step in. Instead, he moved close, so close she had to tilt her head to look up at him. His hand lifted, and then he grabbed her face, firm, controlling, not gentle. Ava's breath caught in her throat. "You really don't know who I am, do you?" he asked quietly. She tried to step back, but he held her jaw in place, not hurting her, but making sure she didn't look away. "I just needed help," she whispered. "I'm not trying to cause trouble." "You already did." She felt her stomach drop. His eyes were not the eyes of a man who simply flirted at bars. They were the eyes of someone used to command, someone used to being obeyed, someone whose life didn't operate under normal rules. Ava tried to pull his hand away. He didn't let go. "You used me," he said, his tone low, steady. "You walked up, grabbed my attention, and dragged me into your game. You put yourself in a spotlight you don't understand." She pushed his wrist harder. "I didn't know. That's the problem." His grip tightened slightly, making her lips part. "You didn't know who you were touching." Her heart pounded against her ribs. He leaned in, his breath brushing her cheek. "Now you do." He finally released her face, but not her arm. His fingers wrapped around her wrist, not painfully but firmly enough that she understood she wasn't leaving until he let her. A black SUV pulled closer to the curb. 2 men stepped out, dressed in dark suits, watching them silently. Ava froze. This wasn't normal. This wasn't safe. This man wasn't just intimidating. He was someone people feared. "I'm going home," she said, trying to sound brave. No, he replied simply. No. Her voice cracked. You don't get to decide that. He turned her wrist gently but decisively, pulling her closer to him. You walked into my world tonight the moment you took my hand. I didn't mean to. Doesn't matter, he said. Her throat tightened, fear and adrenaline mixing until she couldn't tell them apart. He looked down at her as if she were something he couldn't decide whether to punish or protect. I need your name. Ava, she whispered. He nodded once. Ava, good. Now listen carefully. He traced her jaw with his thumb, so softly it contradicted everything else about him. You wanted to use me to make him jealous, he said. Fine. The street suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. But now, his voice dropped even lower. You're mine. Ava's stomach flipped violently. I'm not yours. I don't belong to anyone. His eyes darkened. You do now. Her breath stilled. Why? Why are you doing this? Because your ex picked a fight with the wrong man, he answered, stepping even closer. He dragged your name into conversations he shouldn't have. People now think you matter to me. But I don't. He tilted her chin up with 2 fingers, making her look at him. You will. Ava's knees weakened. He nodded to his men. Open the door. The back door of the SUV swung wide. Ava took 1 step back. No, I'm not getting in that car. He didn't move toward her. He didn't grab her again. But the way he looked at her was worse than any touch. Calm, certain, unshakable. Ava, he said quietly, if you walk away right now, you walk away alone, in the dark, with people watching you who don't want you safe. Her heartbeat thudded painfully in her ears. What people? She whispered. A shadow moved across the far sidewalk, a man in a hoodie watching them. Another leaned against a building pretending to smoke. She hadn't noticed them before, but he had. Get in the car, the stranger said again. Ava's pulse jumped. Fear shot up her spine. Who are you? He stepped so close their bodies almost touched. Luca Moretti. The name hit her like a punch. She'd heard it before. Everyone in New York had. The kind of name whispered in rumors, tied to deals, tied to danger, tied to things that didn't appear in the news because no one dared to print them. A Mafia name. Her breath trembled. Oh my God. Luca leaned down until his forehead almost touched hers. Too late to regret it now. Ava's voice broke. Please, don't make me. I'm not making you, he said, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. I'm protecting you, whether you like it or not. She stared at him, shaking, confused, terrified, drawn to him in a way she didn't understand. Luca opened the SUV door wider. Ava, he said softly, get in the car. And then he added the sentence that made her knees buckle, her breath stop, and her world tilt. Because from this moment on, you're my responsibility. Her fingers curled at her sides. Responsibility, property, protection, threat. What did any of it mean? She looked into his eyes, trembling, unable to tell if he was her worst mistake or the only man who could keep her alive now. Ava swallowed hard, 1 step forward, 1 step into the unknown. But before she could decide, a voice echoed from across the street. Luca, we got a problem. Ava flinched. Luca's jaw tensed. Get her inside, now. Hands reached for her, and Ava had to choose. Run from Luca Moretti, or run into whatever danger was calling his name. Ava, move! The command cut through the noise of the city. Before she could think, Luca's hand pressed gently but firmly on the small of her back, guiding her toward the open SUV door. One of his men stepped between her and the street, blocking her view of the voice that had called out. She twisted to look anyway. On the other side of the road, a man in a hoodie was walking fast in their direction. Another shadow moved behind him. It could have been nothing, but none of Luca's men treated it like nothing. One of them lifted his jacket just enough for Ava to see the gun at his hip. Her throat closed. Get her in the car, Luca repeated, sharper this time. Ava pulled back. Wait, I didn't agree to go with you. He turned, eyes hard. This is not a date. This is not a ride home. This is me making sure you don't get grabbed off a sidewalk because your ex-boyfriend could not keep his mouth shut. You can't just... He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. Look at me, Ava. She did. Do you see panic in my eyes? He asked. Do you see me running? No, she whispered. Exactly. If I'm worried enough to tell you to get in the car, you should listen. His words sank into her chest like weight. The shout from across the street came again, closer now. Luca glanced at his men. Marco, clear it, he said. A tall man with dark hair and a serious face nodded once and walked toward the noise. Another man stayed glued to Ava's side. Her pulse thudded. She had two options: stay on a dark street where people with guns were moving around her, or step into a black SUV with a Mafia boss. Both were bad. One felt slightly less suicidal. Ava took a shaky breath and climbed into the SUV. Luca followed her inside and pulled the door shut. The city sound dulled. It was just leather seats, low light, and his presence filling the space. The car started moving before she even fastened her seatbelt. She stared out the tinted window, watching the street disappear. Her hands shook in her lap. This is kidnapping, she muttered. If I were kidnapping you, Luca said, you would not be arguing with me right now. She turned to him. What is this then? He studied her face for a long second. This is protection. I didn't ask you to protect me. You asked me to stand next to you, he reminded her. In front of your ex, in public. In a room full of people who know my face, my name, my business. You think that doesn't mean something? Ava clenched her jaw. I didn't know who you were. Doesn't change the result. She hated that he was right. She hated that she had walked over so confidently, grabbed his attention, and used him like an accessory. I'm not some toy, he added. You don't pick me up for a scene and put me back on the shelf when you're done. That's not what I did, she snapped. He tilted his head. What else would you call it? She opened her mouth, then shut it again. Her anger started to fold under worry. Who were those guys on the street? She asked quietly. People who don't belong that close to my car, he said. People who started paying attention when your ex decided to raise his voice to me in public. So this is all Ethan's fault? Luca let out a short breath. Partly, but it became your problem the moment he used your name. Ava dropped her gaze. The mention of Ethan made the pain rise again. He had cheated on her, lied to her, made her feel crazy for suspecting anything, and she still let him have power over her by showing up tonight. What did he even say? She asked. Luca watched her carefully. I'll show you when we're somewhere safe. She frowned. You took pictures? His lips twitched, almost a smile. I don't go anywhere without someone watching my back. Cameras, eyes, not for fun, for survival. Her stomach flipped. This was normal for him. For her, it was insane. The car rolled through the city, leaving the busy party neighborhood behind. They crossed a bridge, lights from the water reflecting underneath. Ava realized she had no idea where they were going. Take me home, she said suddenly. No. Luca, I have a life. I have a job. I can't just disappear with some mafia. He shot her a look. She stopped speaking. Say the word, he said calmly, and I will. I won't pretend to be something else. Aren't you worried I'll report you or something? She pushed. To who? He leaned back in the leather seat, eyes on her. The police who take money from people like me to look the other way. The agents who can't touch me without proof. You're the one in danger tonight, Ava. Not me. The truth of that sat heavy between them. The car slowed and turned into an underground garage. Security cameras watched every corner. A metal gate closed behind them. Luca stepped out first, then offered her his hand. She hesitated. You can walk in on your own or I can carry you, he said softly. But you're coming upstairs. The threat wasn't loud. It wasn't physical. It was a simple fact. Ava placed her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm and firm, and he guided her out of the car. The elevator that took them up was silent and private, with mirrored walls and soft light. She watched their reflection, her in her party dress and heels, hair a little messy, eyes wide, him in a black suit that fit like it was made for his body, Broad shoulders, unreadable expression. "This is crazy," she whispered. "Actually," he said, "this is the safest you've been all night." The elevator doors opened to a large, open-concept penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city spread below. Furniture was modern and minimal. Everything was clean, organized, expensive. Two more men stood inside, guns visible at their sides. One of them relaxed slightly when he saw Luca. "Clear?" Luca asked. "All clear, boss," the man said. His eyes flicked to Ava. Curiosity, respect, surprise. "Out," Luca ordered. "Give us the room." They left without question. Ava turned in a slow circle, taking in the view, the security cameras, the locked glass cabinet holding what looked like rifles. "Do you always bring women here?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "No," he answered simply. That made something flip in her chest again. "Sit," Luca said, nodding toward the couch. "I'd rather stand." He shrugged. "Then stand, but drink this." He poured water into a glass and handed it to her. She almost refused out of pride, but her hand betrayed her and took it. Her mouth was dry and fear did not go away just because she wanted to look strong. He walked over to a sleek console table and picked up a phone. It wasn't a regular smartphone. It looked heavier, more secure. He typed something, then turned the screen toward her. "Here," he said. Ava stepped closer. It was a grainy photo from the party, clearly taken at a distance. Ethan stood stiffly near the bar, his face twisted in anger. He was surrounded by two men in suits she hadn't noticed before. Her chest tightened. "What is this?" she asked. "After you walked away with me," Luca said. "Your ex decided he didn't like that. He went to complain to someone. Unfortunately for him, the someone he chose has business with people who don't want me happy." She stared at the photo. One of the men facing Ethan had a familiar tattoo on his neck. She had seen something like that in news articles about crime families in the city. "Did you take this?" she asked. "One of my guys did." She looked up at him. "You have people watching every room you're in?" "Yes." "Because you're paranoid?" "Because I'm alive," he corrected. "There's a difference." She swallowed hard. "He used your name," Luca continued. "He said you were his, that you were only with me to make him jealous. He said he wanted you back." Ava's face heated with shame and anger. "He doesn't get to say that." Luca's eyes softened just a little. "I know." "But why would that matter to those guys?" she asked, nodding at the men around Ethan in the photo. "Why would they care if I was with you or not?" "That's what I'm figuring out," Luca said. "But it doesn't change the fact that now they know your face. They know your name. They saw you with me. That means you're leverage. A weakness. A target." The words weakness and target made her dizzy. "I'm not your weakness," she said quickly. "You are if someone believes you are," he replied. "Perception is reality in my world. And tonight you made a very loud statement." Ava set the glass of water down with shaking fingers. "I didn't think—" "No," he agreed. "You didn't." The blunt words stung, but he wasn't wrong. She had gone to the party to prove to herself she was over Ethan. She had wanted him to feel a fraction of the pain she carried every time she thought of how he had cheated on her. Instead, she had stepped into something much bigger than bruised pride. "What now?" she asked quietly. "Now you stay here," Luca said, "until I'm sure those idiots understand where the line is." "I can't stay here," Ava argued. "I have work tomorrow. I have a life." "What do you do?" he asked. "I'm an event planner. Corporate events, weddings, conferences. I can't just disappear." He studied her. "If I let you walk back into your normal life tomorrow and they're waiting for you, what happens?" Her mouth went dry. "If they take you," he kept going firmly, "they don't just hurt you. They send a message to me. They think that makes them powerful. You understand?" She did. She didn't want to, but she did. "You keep saying they," she murmured. "Who are these people?" Luca hesitated for the first time. "There are families in this city who don't like that I exist," he said. One in particular doesn't like that I'm still standing where they think they should be. Rivals, she said. Yes. And Ethan just walked up to them, like it's nothing. He probably thought they were big shots who could scare me. Luca's jaw flexed. Men like him like to feel strong without understanding who they're talking to. Ava sank slowly onto the couch. Her knees finally gave up. He's such an idiot, she said, voice tight. Men like him are dangerous in a different way, Luca replied. They start fires they don't know how to put out. She looked around the penthouse again, the city lights, the guards, the locked weapons. And you? She asked. What kind of dangerous are you? He didn't pretend to be innocent. The kind that ends things, he said, permanently. A small shiver ran down her spine. She should have been repulsed. Maybe part of her was. But another part felt something else when he said it. Something that sounded like security. This doesn't mean I agree with what you are, she said slowly. I don't like guns. I don't like threats. I don't like this. I'm not asking you to like it, Luca replied. I'm asking you to stay alive through it. Their eyes held. For the first time since she met him, she saw a crack in his control, a hint of tension in his shoulders. She realized he was not just annoyed at her. He was worried. Ava exhaled slowly. How long do you plan to keep me here? Until I say it's safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. He walked over to a shelf, took out a folded t-shirt and a pair of soft pants. You can change in there, he said, nodding to a hallway. First door on the right, bathroom. There's a lock on the inside. Use it and maybe you'll breathe easier. She narrowed her eyes. You're not coming after me? If I wanted to hurt you, he said calmly, I wouldn't need a bathroom door to stop me. The blunt honesty sent another chill through her. Somehow, it also made her trust him more. Ava took the clothes and walked slowly down the hallway. The bathroom was huge, all marble and glass. She locked the door, leaned her back against it, and closed her eyes. This morning she woke up thinking the worst part of her week was seeing Ethan again. Now she was wearing a Mafia boss's clothes and hiding in his penthouse. When she came back out, barefoot and swimming in his t-shirt, Luca was on the couch, phone in his hand, expression sharp. He looked up. His gaze traveled down her body once, quickly, then he forced it back to the screen. The muscle in his jaw jumped. Sit, he said quietly. Something in his tone had changed. What happened? Ava asked, heart speeding up again. He didn't answer right away. He tapped the screen, then turned it toward her. A video was paused. In the frozen frame, Ethan was on his knees on a dirty floor, his face bloody, lips split, one eye already swelling shut. Ava's stomach flipped. Luca pressed play. The video was shaky. A man off camera laughed. A boot hit Ethan's ribs. Ethan groaned, trying to cover his head. Thought you were brave, huh? A voice said. Deep, mocking. Talking big about Luca Moretti and his new girl. Ethan coughed. I didn't mean... Too late, the voice replied. You wanted to poke the lion. Now look at you. Another kick, another groan. Ava's vision blurred. Then the camera moved closer, so close that Ethan had to look up. The man behind the phone leaned down. Only his mouth could be seen in the shot. We saw her, the man said. Pretty thing. You think he'll bleed more if we touch her, or if we just show her this? Ava's whole body went cold. The man laughed. Send this to Moretti, he ordered someone. Tell him we like his taste. The video stopped. Silence filled the room. Ava felt her hand clamp over her mouth. She hadn't even realized she'd raised it. Luca set the phone on the table with a controlled, careful motion. His eyes, when he looked up, were no longer calm. They were lethal. No, Ava whispered, voice shaking. This is because of me. Ethan, the party, if I hadn't... This is because they wanted an excuse, Luca cut in. And he gave it to them. You being involved just gave them a prettier line to say into a camera. Tears stung her eyes. They know what I look like now. Yes, he said. He stood, walked to the window and stared out at the city for a long second, his hands curling into fists and relaxing again. Then he spoke, low and steady. "No one touches what is mine." The words dropped heavy between them. Property, possession, protection, all tangled together. Ava's heart raced for a new reason. Was she just a tool for him now? A symbol? A line he could not let others cross? Or was there already something more forming under his control, under his anger, under the danger around them? She didn't know. All she knew was that men she didn't recognize were talking about her like a prize. Ethan was bleeding on a floor because he pulled the wrong string, and Luca Moretti was the only person standing between her and a world she had never wanted to see. He turned back to her, eyes burning with a promise she couldn't yet read. "From this point forward," he said, "you do not leave my side. Not this penthouse. Not my protection. Nothing. You understand?" Ava swallowed. She understood more than he knew. But was she willing to accept it? And if she did, would she ever be able to walk away again? The night felt heavier inside Luca's penthouse. Even with the city glowing through the windows, Ava sensed something darker pressing against the glass. Something she couldn't see, but Luca clearly could. He stood in front of her like a wall, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "You stay here," he repeated. Ava's voice came out quiet. "For how long?" "As long as it takes." That's not an answer. It's the only one that will keep you breathing. The bluntness of his tone made her chest tighten again. She wasn't used to being spoken to like that, not with cold truth, not with this level of certainty. Ethan had lied beautifully. Luca didn't lie at all. That made things worse, and safer, and terrifying. Ava took a few steps back until her knees touched the couch. She sank into it slowly, her mind spinning. Ethan beaten, strangers watching her, a Mafia boss telling her what to do, like it was law. "I never should have gone to that stupid party," she whispered to herself. Luca glanced toward her. The party wasn't the problem. Everything about it was a problem. "You weren't," he said. She froze. The softness in his voice lasted 1 second, maybe 2. Then it vanished, replaced by the same hard edge he wore like armor. He paced once across the room, hands behind his back, thinking in silence. Ava noticed it now, how methodical he was. He didn't fidget, he didn't panic, he calculated. Every word, every movement, every breath was intentional. Finally he spoke. "I need you to understand the situation," he said. "And I need you to listen without interrupting." Ava nodded, even though her throat was tight. "The men who grabbed your ex," Luca continued, "are from the Romano family." She blinked. The name wasn't familiar. "They're not the biggest family in the city," Luca explained, "but they're ambitious, reckless. They've been trying to get leverage on me for years. So I'm leverage." "You became leverage," he corrected. "Not by choice, but by exposure. You walked into the light standing next to me. You tried to use me to make him jealous, and now they think using you will make me weak." She closed her eyes for a moment. The guilt pressed down so hard she could barely breathe. "This is all my fault," she said. "No," Luca said firmly. "Ethan brought your name to them first." "But I started it," she insisted, her voice tight. "If I hadn't approached you, you would still be a target." She looked at him sharply. "Why?" He hesitated. "Because they already knew who you were." Ava's heart stopped. "What?" she whispered. Luca walked toward her, stopping only when he stood right in front of the couch. "The photo of you leaving work last week," he said. "The one my men found tonight. That wasn't coincidence. They've been watching you longer than you've known my name." Ava's fingers dug into her thighs. "Why? I didn't do anything." "You exist," Luca answered. "Sometimes that's enough." "No." She shook her head, panic rising. "There has to be a reason." "There is," he said, "but I don't have the full picture yet." Her stomach sank. "So I'm part of something I never agreed to?" "You stepped into something that was already moving," he said. "You just didn't see it." He sat beside her, close enough that she felt the warmth of his body. His presence was overwhelming, solid, commanding, impossible to ignore. Ava wrapped her arms around her chest. I want to go home. I know. Then let me. He looked directly into her eyes. I will not put you in a place where someone can grab you within 5 minutes. Anger flared through her. You think I'm helpless? He lifted one eyebrow. Do you think you're not? Ava pushed off the couch and stood up. I'm not some fragile object. No, Luca agreed calmly. You're not fragile. You're untrained, unarmed, outnumbered. That's worse. His voice wasn't mocking. It wasn't insulting. It was a diagnosis. That somehow made it hurt more. So what? She asked. You're going to lock me in here until you decide I'm allowed to leave? Yes. She stared at him, stunned. He didn't even hesitate. He wasn't joking. He wasn't exaggerating. You can't control me, she snapped. I'm not controlling you, he said, rising to his feet with slow, steady movements. I'm preventing your death. The room went quiet. Luca approached her step by step until she had nowhere to step back. Her back hit the wall. He wasn't touching her, but she felt surrounded by him anyway. You think this is about ownership? He asked quietly. It's not. Not yet. Yet? Ava breathed, startled. I said you're mine, he continued, because that's the only thing those men will understand. The only thing that will stop them from trying to take you. If they believe you matter to me, they'll think twice. Her pulse raced. And do I matter to you? His eyes flicked down to her lips before returning to her eyes. You will, he said softly. Her legs almost gave out. Before she could ask anything else, the elevator chimed. Marco's voice came through the speaker. Boss, we've got something. Luca's face hardened instantly. Come in. Marco entered, closing the door behind him. He carried a tablet, his expression serious. We traced the number from the video. And? Luca asked. Marco swiped across the screen. Romano territory, East Warehouse District. Ava's stomach twisted. That's far from here? Far enough, Marco said. Close enough to matter. Luca crossed his arms. Tell me everything. Marco pulled up a second window. The call your ex made earlier. It came from a disposable phone. Bought yesterday. But the tower it pinged belongs to the same area. Ava shook her head. But Ethan doesn't know anything about Mafia families. He didn't even know who Luca was tonight. Marco exchanged a glance with Luca. That's what worries us, Marco said. He shouldn't have been anywhere near that territory. Ava swallowed. So he did this on purpose? No, Luca said. Ethan's too stupid for intentional strategy. Someone guided him. Someone told him who to talk to. Someone used him without him even realizing it. A cold chill slid through Ava. Why me? She asked softly. Why was I chosen? I'm nobody. Marco's expression softened for the first time. You're not nobody. Not to them. Ava frowned. What does that mean? Luca took the tablet from Marco, studied the screen, then handed it back. Not now, he said to Marco. We need more before we give her half the truth. Half the truth. Ava's stomach sank deeper. Hey, she said, stepping between them. I deserve to know what's going on. You will, Luca said. When? He looked down at her, eyes searching her face. When I can tell you the truth without making it worse. Ava's voice shook. I don't want protection. I want answers. And I want you breathing tomorrow morning, he replied. We don't always get what we want. Marco slipped his hands into his pockets. Boss, there's more. Luca nodded. Go on. We pulled traffic from security cameras around Ava's workplace, Marco said. Someone's been following her for at least a week. Same car, same route. Ava froze. No, that's impossible. I would have noticed. You weren't supposed to notice, Marco said gently. They wanted you comfortable. Luca's jaw tightened. Show me. Marco pulled up a photo. Ava leaving her office building 3 days ago, holding her bag and coffee. In the background, half hidden behind a delivery truck, was a dark sedan. Another photo appeared. then another. Different days, same sedan, same distance. Ava's knees nearly buckled. She grabbed the back of a chair. "They watched me," she whispered, "before I met you." "Yes," Luca confirmed quietly. "But why?" He hesitated only a moment. "Ava, they were already trying to find a way to get to me." "But I didn't even know you." He nodded. "Exactly." Her mind raced. "So this has nothing to do with Ethan?" "It started before Ethan," Luca said. "His stupidity just sped things up." Ava pressed both hands to her face. Panic clawed up her throat. "This is insane," she muttered. "This is insane. I can't be part of this. I can't." Luca stepped forward. "Ava." She looked up, eyes burning. "You are already part of it," he said. "Whether you want to be or not." She shook her head violently. "No, I won't be. I didn't choose this." "You think choice matters?" he asked quietly. "If they want you, they'll take you. The only thing stopping them is me." Silence. Heavy. Inevitable. Ava leaned back against the table, shaking. She felt trapped between two truths. She did not want to be here, and she could not leave. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. "Why help me? Why involve yourself at all?" Luca approached slowly, stopping inches in front of her. "Because they marked you," he said. "And once a woman is marked in my world, she either disappears or gets claimed." Ava's breath hitched. "Claimed?" "Yes." His hand lifted. He brushed a tear from her cheek with a touch far too gentle for the man he was. "You stepped into the fire," he murmured. "And now that you're in it, I will not let it burn you." Her heart pounded against her ribs. Was this protection, control, possession, or something else she couldn't name yet? Before she could speak, Luca's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. His expression darkened. "What is it?" Ava asked. Luca turned the phone toward her. A second video. Her face in the dark. A blurry shot through a window. Taken yesterday. The caption read, "We saw her before you did." Ava stumbled back. Luca caught her by the waist before she fell. She stared at him, trembling. "Why were they watching me before I ever met you?" Luca's jaw locked. "We're going to find out," he said. "But to do that, you're not leaving my side." Ava's eyes widened. "You can't expect me to stay here forever." He leaned closer, voice like steel. "Not forever, Ava." His thumb brushed her waist. "Just until we learn why a Mafia family was watching you, before you ever walked up to me at that bar." The room spun. Her voice came out a whisper. "And what if the answer is something I don't want to know?" Luca didn't blink. "Then that's exactly why you need me." A knock sounded at the door. Marco spoke from the other side. "Boss, we have another problem." Ava's blood ran cold. Luca looked at her. "We're just getting started." Ava didn't move. She didn't breathe. She stood in the center of Luca Moretti's penthouse with her hands shaking at her sides while the knock echoed again, heavier this time. Marco's voice came through the door, low but urgent. "Boss, it's important." Luca studied Ava for a long second, as if measuring how close she was to breaking. Then he spoke, calm and firm. "Sit." She couldn't. Her legs didn't trust her, but she nodded anyway and sank into the edge of the couch while Luca walked to the door. Marco stepped inside, closing it quietly behind him. He looked tense, more tense than Ava had seen before. "What is it?" Luca asked. Marco hesitated, something he never did. "It's about her," he said quietly, flicking his eyes toward Ava. A cold gust ran through her chest. Luca motioned him forward. "Talk." Marco tapped his tablet and brought up a file, old, grainy, scanned. He handed it to Luca first. Luca's eyes narrowed as he read. "What is that?" Ava whispered. Neither of them answered. Her fear grew heavier, denser. "Luca." He flipped through 2 more pages, then stopped abruptly. His jaw hardened. Finally, he walked over and placed the tablet gently in her hands. Ava stared down. Her father's name, her father's signature, Her father's employment records. No, not employment. Payments. Transactions. A contract signed 20 years ago between her father and the Romano family. Ava shook her head. This can't be real. Marco stepped closer, voice soft. We triple-checked, Ava. The documents aren't fake. Luca crouched in front of her, taking the tablet back. Your father didn't just know the Romano family. He worked for them. Ava's chest tightened. My father was an accountant, a normal man. He went to work at 9. He came home at 6. He made pancakes on Saturdays. He wasn't involved in anything criminal. Marco exchanged a glance with Luca. Ava, Marco said, your father laundered money for them, for years. No, Ava whispered. No, he didn't. He wouldn't do that. Luca spoke more gently than she'd ever heard from him. People do things to protect their families. Sometimes the only way out of a bad deal is an even worse deal. Her breathing became unsteady. My father died in a car accident, she said. He wasn't killed. Luca exhaled through his nose, rubbing the back of his neck. That's what the report said. What do you mean said? She demanded. Marco placed another document on the table. A collision diagram. A photo of her father's car crushed against a metal beam. A short police report. DUI suspected. My father didn't drink, Ava said sharply. Ever. Marco nodded. We know. Ava blinked hard, tears burning her eyes. Then why does it say that? Luca took the report from her hands. Because the man who wrote it was bribed, he said quietly. The Romano family paid to bury the case. A numbness spread through her body. Her father. Her gentle, quiet, overworked, kind father. He tried to leave, Luca continued. That's what this is. He tried to get out of their business. And the Romano family doesn't like when people leave. Ava covered her mouth with her hand. A sob broke through her breath. Luca touched her knee, grounding her with his steady presence. He didn't die because of something he did, Ava. He died because criminals do what criminals do. They punish those who walk away. Her voice trembled. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because you were a child, Luca said softly. And because the Romano family knew they might use you one day. Her chest squeezed painfully. Use me? How? Luca hesitated. To control me, he said finally, or to send a message to your father's old allies. Ava shut her eyes tight, tears sliding down her cheeks. She felt exposed, small, ruined. Why didn't my mom tell me? She whispered. Why did she let me think it was an accident? Marco's tone softened even more. Ava, your mother probably didn't know the truth either. Your father kept it a secret to protect you both. Ava's breath hitched. Everything she believed about her childhood, about that night, about her father, changed. Luca stood and walked to the minibar. He poured a small glass of water and brought it back to her. She held it, but her hand shook too much to drink. He took it from her and lifted it to her lips himself. She drank slowly. Look at me, Luca said. She did. You are not responsible for your father's choices, he told her. You didn't ask for this. You didn't create this. And you are not going to pay for his past. Ava's throat tightened again. But I already am. No, Luca said, his tone dropping. You're under my protection now. That changes everything. She blinked through tears. You keep saying that like it doesn't scare me. It should scare you, he said honestly. Everything about this world should, but being alone in it should scare you more. For the first time, she believed him. Another knock came at the door. Not urgent, controlled. Luca straightened, jaw tight again. Enter. 2 more of his men stepped in. Boss, one said. We swept the perimeter. We found this. He held out a phone, a burner. Luca took it, tapped the screen, and played the latest incoming message. A muffled voice filled the room. Nice history lesson you're giving her, Moretti. Hope she appreciates it. We've always liked her family. Ava's heart dropped into her stomach. The voice continued. We're not done yet. You can't protect her forever. You couldn't protect her father either. Luca's entire body went still. His eyes darkened like a storm. He spoke one word, low and lethal. Enough. He turned to Marco. Find the source of that call. On it. The men left quickly. Luca faced Ava again. She instinctively stepped back, not because she feared him, but because she feared what she'd just learned. Ava, he said quietly. She wiped her cheeks with shaking hands. So that's why they were watching me? Because of my father? Partly, Luca answered. But there's something else. Something bigger. We just haven't found it yet. Her voice cracked. They killed my father. They ruined his name. They watched me for weeks. And now they think they can use me to hurt you. Yes. Ava grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself. Her world was falling apart piece by piece. I can't do this, she whispered. I can't stay here. Ava? No. She shook her head. I don't belong in this. I'm just me. I'm not strong. I'm not made for this. Luca stepped closer. You're stronger than you think. You don't know me. His expression softened in a way she had never seen before. I'm starting to. Ava's breath caught. You think I'm going to let them take you? He asked quietly. You think I'll let them use you the way they used your father? Her tears kept falling silently. Luca lifted his hand and wiped one away with his thumb. I don't lose the people under my protection, he murmured, and I won't start with you. Her voice trembled. You keep saying protection like it's a cage. It is, he said honestly, a cage that keeps you alive. She stepped back. I don't want to be caged. You'd rather be hunted? Silence. Ava covered her mouth with her hand. She didn't know what she wanted. She only knew she felt trapped, terrified, exposed, and dependent on the one man she shouldn't depend on. Ava, Luca said gently, look at me. She lifted her eyes. Let me keep you safe, he said. A tear slid down her cheek. But what if you're the most dangerous thing in my life? She whispered. Luca exhaled slowly through his nose. Then I'll teach you how to survive me too. The air between them thickened. Fear, attraction, grief, tension mixing into something she couldn't name. Marco returned suddenly, breath slightly fast. Boss, he said. We checked the alley behind her office again. And? Luca asked. Marco held out his phone with a new image. A man in a dark coat, face half covered, standing yards behind Ava in one of the earlier photos. But this time, he was looking directly at the camera, directly at them. Ava backed away until she hit the wall. He's not Romano, Marco said. He belongs to someone else. Luca's expression sharpened. Who? Marco hesitated. We're not sure yet, but whoever he is, he's been following Ava for longer than we thought. Ava felt her knees weaken. How long? Marco looked at her with sympathy. Months. She nearly collapsed. Luca caught her by the wrist, steadying her before she slid to the floor. His grip didn't hurt. It anchored her, heated her skin, pulled her back into her body when her mind tried to escape. Is this ever going to end? She whispered. Luca's jaw clenched. Yes, he said, but not tonight. Ava looked up at him, terrified, but unable to look away. And what happens now? She asked. Luca held her gaze, voice low and unwavering. Now, he said, now we hide you somewhere no one will ever reach you. Ava's breath trembled. And after that? He stepped even closer. After that, he murmured, we find out which ghost from your past wants you. And why? Ava's heart pounded. Ghost. Past. Watched for months. Her father's secrets. Romano threats. And Luca Moretti, deadly, protective, angry, and increasingly impossible for her to resist, standing between her and the shadows closing in. She swallowed hard. Luca. Her voice was barely a whisper. What if the truth is something I can't survive? He cupped her jaw with one hand. Then I'll hold you through it. Another knock sounded. Urgent this time, Marco's voice sharp. Boss, we have a location and a deadline. Luca didn't look away from Ava. This is where things get worse before they get better. Ava didn't sleep. The city outside Luca's penthouse lived loudly. Sirens, car horns, wind against glass. But inside, everything felt too quiet, too controlled, too dangerous. She sat on the edge of the bed Luca had insisted she use, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the door like it might burst open at any second. Her father worked for the Romano family. He died trying to leave. They covered it up. And someone else, someone even more dangerous, had been following her for months. Her life wasn't just falling apart. It had already been in pieces. She just hadn't seen the cracks. A soft knock sounded, not loud enough to be a threat. "Come in," she said weakly. The door opened slowly. Brooke slipped in, eyes wide and red from crying. Ava jumped up. "Brooke!" Brooke threw her arms around her. "Ava, what is happening? Some guy showed up at my apartment and told me you were safe. Told me to pack clothes and get in the car. I thought I was being kidnapped." Ava stiffened. "That was Luca's man." "Yeah, well, he has the personality of a refrigerator with a gun." Brooke pulled back, staring at Ava. "Tell me you didn't join a mafia." Ava let out a broken laugh. "I didn't join anything. I got trapped." Brooke grabbed her hands. "Are you okay? What did Ethan do? Did that jerk hurt you again?" Ava looked down. Brooke's face fell. "Ava, what did he do?" "He talked to the wrong people," Ava whispered. "He dragged my name to them. And now everything is out of control." Brooke shook her head. "I should have never let you go to that party." Ava sighed. "It wasn't your fault. I went there because I wanted him to see me, and maybe regret letting me go." Brooke touched her cheek gently. "He doesn't deserve regret, and you don't deserve this." Ava swallowed hard. "Brooke, there's more. They were watching me. Before everything. Before Luca. Before Ethan." Brooke froze. "What? Why would anyone watch you?" Ava's eyes filled again. "Because of my father." Brooke covered her mouth. "Oh, Ava." Ava wiped her cheeks. "Luca thinks they'll use me. For revenge, for leverage. I don't know." Brooke set her hands on Ava's shoulders. "So, what now? Do we stay here? Do we hide?" Ava looked at the door, her pulse rising. Hide. She hated the word. Being trapped felt worse than being hunted. And suddenly, for the first time since this nightmare began, she realized something. She needed to breathe. She needed to think. She needed space from Luca, from the truth, from the intensity he wrapped around her like a cage. "Ava." Brooke's voice softened. "Whatever you're thinking, don't." Ava backed away. "I can't stay locked up like this. You'll be safe here." "I don't feel safe," Ava said. And it was true. She felt watched, overwhelmed, controlled. Luca's version of protection was suffocating her. Brooke grabbed her wrists. "Do not run from a mafia boss, Ava. That is officially the stupidest sentence I've ever said." Ava's eyes filled. "I need to take control of at least one thing." Brooke's expression softened with fear. "Ava, he's doing all of this for you." "No," Ava whispered. "He's doing it for a message, for power, for control, not for me." But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't fully true. Luca was dangerous, but he hadn't lied to her, hadn't manipulated her, hadn't touched her without need. Every move he made was to stop the people hunting her. Still, she needed to get out. "Brooke," she said carefully, "you're my best friend. I need you to trust me." Brooke closed her eyes as if in pain. "I don't like this. I'll be okay. You won't. Please." Brooke hesitated, then exhaled shakily. "Fine. But if you die, I'm going to kill you." Ava hugged her hard. "I swear I won't die." They had no plan yet, no escape route, no idea how to get past Luca's security. But the universe gave them an opening. A knock came at the door. One of Luca's men stepped inside. Miss Collins, the boss needs a few minutes. He and Marco are working with our tech team. They said you should stay put. Ava nodded, pretending calm. Okay. Brooke attempted a casual smile. We're fine here. The man left. Ava exhaled shakily. That's our chance. Brooke whispered harshly. Ava, this is a crime penthouse. How do you expect us to sneak out? Ava grabbed Brooke's hand. There's a service elevator. I saw it earlier when they took the trash down. Brooke groaned. You should have been a criminal. Ava cracked a tiny smile. Maybe in another life. They slipped quietly down the hallway, past a room where they heard Luca's deep voice and Marco's low responses. Ava's heart hammered so loudly she was sure they'd hear it. When they reached the corner, Ava spotted the service door. Unlocked. Brooke whispered, If we get shot, I'm haunting you. Ava pushed the door open. The service elevator was small, metal, industrial, cold. They stepped inside. Ava pressed the button for the parking level. The ride felt like an hour. When the doors opened, the garage lights flickered. Luca's SUVs lined one side. Workers moved crates to the other. Ava kept her head low, walking fast, pulling Brooke with her. They reached the exit. The guard at the booth looked up. Leaving already? Ava swallowed. Emergency. Family thing. The guard frowned. We're supposed to confirm with the boss. Brooke suddenly staggered forward dramatically. I think I'm going to throw up. The guard panicked. Go, go, go! They dashed outside. Cold night air hit Ava's face like freedom. Brooke grabbed her arm. Taxi, now. Ava stopped. No, taxi is too obvious. So what then? Wings? Ava pointed. Bus stop. Cameras won't track it easily. They ran, stepping onto a bus just as it pulled away. Ava took the farthest seat and curled against the window, her heart racing. Brooke leaned in. Where are we going? Ava whispered. Your apartment first, then maybe leave the city. Brooke stared at her. And tell Luca what? Thanks for saving my life, here's my middle finger. I'll call him, I just need space. And when he calls you back? Ava didn't answer, because she didn't know. They reached Brooke's apartment 20 minutes later and stepped inside. Ava immediately felt something cold wash through her. The living room lights were on, but Brooke hadn't turned them on. Brooke froze. Ava, I didn't leave the lights. A voice inside the apartment spoke. About time. Brooke screamed. Ava spun toward the voice. 3 men stood inside, one by the couch, one near the window, one leaning against the kitchen counter, smiling darkly. The one at the counter spoke again. We thought you'd come back eventually, he said. Your boss didn't let us get close enough last time. Ava grabbed Brooke's arm. Run. They turned, but the man near the couch blocked the door. Where are you going, sweetheart? He asked. We're just getting to know each other. Brooke trembled. Ava, call Luca. But Ava's phone vibrated first. Luca. Incoming call. Luca Moretti. She stared at the screen. The man from the counter tilted his head. Go on. Answer him. Ava didn't move. He smiled wider. Tell him how fast we found you. Brooke clutched Ava's arm. Ava. The man stepped forward. A mafia boss like him? He said softly. You think he can protect everything he touches? He couldn't even protect your father. Ava's blood froze. Get away from her, Brooke snapped. The man grinned. Or what? You gonna cry? Ava felt her fear twist into anger. Leave her alone, she said. The man smirked. Oh, look, she bites. He stepped closer. Ava backed up until her spine hit the wall. Her phone vibrated again. Luca Moretti, calling. The man leaned in close, breath hot against her cheek. Pick up, he whispered. I want to hear him panic. Ava's shaking hand lifted the phone. She pressed answer. Ava? Luca's voice was sharp, cold, dangerous. Where the hell are you? Ava opened her mouth. But the man ripped the phone from her hand and clicked speaker. He lifted it to his lips. Hello, Moretti. Luca's silence was scarier than anger. Then, you have 3 seconds, Luca growled, to stop breathing near her. The man laughed. Oh, Luca, you're too late. Ava's heart stopped. The man smiled at her, eyes full of hunger for chaos. Tell your boss, he said quietly, and grabbed Ava's arm hard, that if he wants you back. Brooke sobbed. Ava's pulse pounded. Luca's voice thundered through the speaker. Don't touch her. The man whispered into Ava's hair. He'll have to trade something very expensive. Before Ava could scream, another man threw a black hood over her head. Brooke shrieked. Ava felt hands grab her, drag her, lift her off the floor. Her last thought before the world went dark. I should have stayed with him. Darkness? That was all Ava felt when the hood came down over her face. Darkness and the violent rhythm of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Arms dragged her through Brooke's apartment, then downstairs, then outside into cold air. Her feet barely touched the ground. She heard Brooke screaming somewhere behind her. Then, a door slammed. Metal. A van. Hands shoved her forward. The floor vibrated beneath her. The van door slammed shut again, sealing her in. Ava gasped for breath, but the hood clung to her lips, smelling like sweat and dust and fear. A man's voice spoke from somewhere to her right. Stop crying, he said. She wasn't crying, yet, but the command shook her. Another voice answered, this one younger, more nervous. She shouldn't have run. Boss wanted her alive. A third voice scoffed, alive for now. Ava felt bile rise in her throat. The van moved, harsh and fast, bouncing her against the wall. She braced her hands on the metal floor and tried to steady her breathing. She had run from Luca, and straight into hell. The man closest to her grabbed her chin through the hood. Maybe Moretti will give us something good for you. Another laughed. He'll give us a war. That's better. Ava's stomach twisted. Luca, he was calling her when they grabbed her. He heard the man's voice. He heard her scream. Would he come? Would he find her? She didn't know. She only knew one thing. She didn't want to die here. Not without seeing him again. Then the van screeched to a stop. The doors flew open. Hands grabbed her, dragged her out, her shoes scraping the ground. Cold night air hit her exposed arms as they hauled her across gravel. Ava stumbled, but they didn't slow down. The hood was ripped off. She blinked rapidly, eyes burning, adjusting to the dim warehouse lights. 3 men surrounded her. Concrete floor, metal beams, rusty chains hanging from the ceiling, a table covered with weapons. Ava's entire body trembled. One man, the one who'd smiled at her in Brooke's apartment, stepped forward. His eyes were dark, calculating, too pleased with himself. He gripped her jaw roughly. You're prettier without the hood. Ava jerked away and spat. Don't touch me. He laughed and shoved her backward. She hit a metal pillar hard enough to knock the air from her lungs. Another man crossed his arms. She's got a mouth. The boss is gonna like that. Ava's fear sharpened. Boss? Not Luca's boss. Theirs. The man with the cruel smile paced around her slowly. You know, he said softly, your ex-boyfriend was very helpful. He told us everything we needed. Ava felt sick. Ethan. Of course, Ethan would talk to the wrong people, say the wrong things, think he was being tough when he was just being used. He didn't know anything, she said through clenched teeth. No, the man replied, but he thought he did. And stupid men are perfect pawns. He grabbed her chin again, forcing her to look up at him. You matter to Moretti now, so you matter to us. Her breath hitched. She didn't want to matter, not like this. Footsteps echoed from the far corner of the warehouse. Ava stiffened. A man entered the room, tall, wearing a long coat, eyes cold and dead. His movements were controlled, careful, deliberate. A predator who didn't need to show his teeth to terrify. The other men straightened instantly. Boss, they muttered. Ava's pulse hammered so violently she thought she might pass out. This was the man who had been watching her. Months, shadows, corners, cameras. He approached Ava slowly. You, he said, studying her like an object in a display. You're smaller than I expected. Ava said nothing. He stepped closer, inspecting her, tilting his head. You look like your father, he murmured. Her breath froze. He smiled, a cold, thin smile. Yes, he said softly. I knew him. Ava's knees nearly buckled. He worked for the Romano family. The man stepped closer until he stood inches from her face. He worked for me. Ava's stomach dropped. Luca had been wrong. This wasn't Romano. This was someone else entirely. The man touched a strand of her hair, twirling it between his fingers. Your father was loyal, he said, until he wasn't. Ava swallowed. You killed him. I punished him, he said calmly. Betrayal has consequences. Ava backed away on instinct, but another man shoved her forward again. The boss leaned close. And now I get to finish what I started. Ava's breath came fast. Panic clawed at her chest. I'm not my father, she whispered. No, he agreed. You're more valuable. Moretti cares about you. And Luca Moretti, he smiled darkly, owes me. The world tilted. Owes? The man snapped his fingers. Tie her. Two men grabbed her arms. Ava fought, kicked, twisted, elbowed, but they were too strong. They dragged her to a pillar and wrapped heavy zip ties around her wrists, securing her hands above her head. Pain shot through her shoulders. Ava gasped, Please, don't do this. The boss stepped back, admiring his work. Oh, I won't hurt you much, he said. Not if Moretti pays the price. What price? She whispered. He leaned in, his breath cold on her cheek. Territory, power, one of his men. Or maybe all three. He'll come begging for you. Ava's tears burned. He won't. Oh, sweetheart, the man said softly, gripping her chin. He already is. Ava squeezed her eyes shut, because she knew it was true. Luca would come. Of course he would come. And they would use him to destroy everything he built. Ava shook her head violently. Don't do this. Don't drag him into this. He didn't do anything to you. The man straightened. You don't know what he did, and you don't need to. He nodded at the others. Call Moretti. One man lifted a phone and dialed. Ava's entire body tensed. The phone clicked. Luca's voice roared through the speaker immediately. Where is she? Ava's heart cracked at the sound. The boss smiled. Hello, Luca. Luca's breathing was uneven, angry, furious, barely controlled. You lay one hand on her, he growled, and I'll tear your entire organization apart. You already tried that once, the boss said. Remember how that ended? Silence. Ava opened her eyes slowly. Luca knew this man, knew him well, too well. The boss smirked. We want... A gunshot suddenly exploded behind them. The men jumped. Ava gasped. The boss whipped around. Silence. Then, crash. A metal crate slammed to the ground across the warehouse. The men panicked, pointing guns wildly. Another shot. Another crash. Lights flickered. Ava's breath stopped. Luca Moretti stepped out from behind a row of crates, gun raised, blood on his cheek, jaw clenched tight enough to crack. His voice exploded through the warehouse. Everyone move away from her. For a moment, just a moment, Ava felt safe. Then the warehouse erupted. Gunfire, shouting, screams, men running, bullets ricocheting off metal. Luca charged forward, taking down one man, then another, moving with precision and rage. Marco wasn't far behind him, firing clean shots. Ava cried out when one bullet sparked near her head. Luca! She screamed. He turned toward her for half a second, just enough to see she was alive, before shooting another man who tried to rush her. The boss slipped behind a pillar, firing at Luca. You never learn, Moretti? He shouted. Luca ducked, rolled behind a crate, and fired back. And you never shut up. He moved like a storm, unstoppable, deadly, furious. But the boss was fast, too fast. He appeared behind Ava, grabbing her by the hair, yanking her head back. Ava screamed. Luca stopped dead. The boss pressed a knife to her throat. Drop your gun! Luca's chest heaved. Ava shook violently. No, Luca, don't. Luca locked eyes with her, and slowly, painfully, he lowered his gun. Kick it, the boss ordered. Luca nudged it across the floor. The boss laughed softly. See, Ava, this is what power looks like. He pressed the blade harder. Ava whimpered. Luca's voice dropped to a lethal whisper. If you hurt her. You'll what? The boss taunted. Kill me? You don't have the nerve to lose her in the process. Ava's eyes filled with tears. Luca. His jaw twitched. I'm here. I'm right here. Marco crept behind the boss, moving silently, gun raised. Ava saw him. Her pulse spiked. If she reacted, she'd give it away. If she stayed silent, she might get saved. The boss continued. You want her back? Give me... now! Marco shouted. Luca moved at the same second. The boss spun, slicing Ava's shoulder instead of her throat. She screamed. Marco fired, hit the boss in the leg. The boss roared, dropping the knife. Luca lunged, tackled him to the ground, and beat him with a rage Ava had never seen in another human being. Punch after punch after punch. Blood splattered onto the concrete. Luca! Marco shouted. Enough! But Luca didn't stop. This wasn't business. This wasn't revenge. This was something deeper. Something personal. Ava collapsed to her knees, her arms still tied, warm blood trickling down her arm. Marco rushed to her, cutting her restraints. You okay, Ava? Talk to me. But she didn't look at Marco. She looked at Luca, the man who had crossed a battlefield for her, the man who had dropped his gun the moment a knife touched her skin, the man who would burn the whole city down just to get her back. He finally stopped hitting the boss, chest heaving, hands shaking. He stood slowly, covered in blood that wasn't his. His eyes met hers, and something broke inside him. Ava, he breathed. She ran, straight into his arms, burying her face against him. He wrapped her tighter than a cage, tighter than armor, tighter than anything she'd ever known. You came, she cried. I'll always come, he whispered into her hair. Even if it kills me, she sobbed. I shouldn't have left. I shouldn't have run. I was scared and I... Shh, he murmured, pulling her closer. You're safe now. That's all that matters. His hand slid to her bleeding shoulder. You're hurt. It's nothing, she whispered. It's everything, he growled. They touched you. They put their hands on you. Ava lifted her face, cupping his jaw with trembling fingers. You saved me. Luca leaned his forehead to hers. I'd trade my whole empire for you, he said. I almost did tonight. Ava's breath caught. His words were too much, too big, too real. Luca, she whispered. But before she could say more, sirens echoed in the distance. Marco cursed. Boss, feds are coming. Someone tipped them off. Ava froze. The warehouse, the gunfire, the bodies. Luca looked down at her, eyes torn between rage and tenderness. We're not done, he said, brushing her cheek with his thumb. But we need to move. Now. But what happens next? Ava whispered. He grabbed her hand. A war, he said. And after that, the truth. He pulled her close, voice barely above a breath. I'm not losing you. Not now. Not ever. The sirens grew louder, screaming through the night, bouncing off the metal beams of the warehouse. Red and blue lights flashed through dirty windows. Tires screeched outside. The feds were seconds away. Luca's grip tightened around Ava's hand. We move. Now. Marco was already clearing a path, kicking away weapons, dragging an unconscious man to block one of the doors the agents would soon break through. Ava's legs felt weak, but adrenaline pushed her forward. Luca kept her tucked under his arm as if nothing in the world could come between them. Ava, Luca said as he guided her behind a stack of crates. Stay right behind me. Don't fall back. Don't run. Don't speak. She nodded quickly. And if something happens to me? No. Her voice cracked. Don't say that. He framed her face with both hands. Ava, listen. If something happens, Marco gets you out. You follow him, not me. She shook her head. I'm not leaving you. You will, he growled. You don't get to die for me. And you don't get to die for me? She snapped back, voice trembling. For a moment, just a moment, Luca looked at her like she was the first person in years who dared talk back to him and mean it. Marco returned, breath sharp. "Boss, they're blocking every exit." Of course they were. The warehouse was surrounded. Luca cursed under his breath. "Of all nights," Marco lowered his voice, "we need to make a choice." Ava glanced between them. "What choice?" Luca exhaled, jaw tight. "I can fight the feds, or I can take you out of here safely." "Not both." Ava froze. Marco pulled a small device from his pocket, a remote, something with blinking lights. "I planted charges in the back tunnel. It'll create a distraction big enough to get Ava out. But once we do that," Luca nodded grimly, "I can't run, not with a dozen agents watching every exit." Ava's stomach dropped. "No." "Ava," Luca said softly, "the moment you were taken, they used that to build a case against me. I've known this was coming." He cupped her cheek again, brushing away a tear she didn't realize had fallen. "But I don't care about the case. I care about you." The warehouse doors slammed open with a bang. Voices shouted, "Federal agents! Hands up!" Ava flinched. Luca didn't move. Marco gripped his arm. "We need to act." Luca nodded once. "Do it." Marco sprinted toward the back of the warehouse. Ava grabbed Luca's jacket. "Luca, no, no." He held her tight, tilting her face up to his. "I told you," he said quietly. "I won't lose you." "But you'll be arrested," she whispered. "Or worse." His eyes softened. "Ava, I'm a Moretti. I don't break easily." "Then come with me," she pleaded. "We'll run together." He brushed his thumb along her bottom lip, memorizing her. "If I run now, they'll hunt us both. You'll never have a moment of peace." "I don't care." "But I do." Another explosion rocked the far side of the warehouse. Marco's distraction. Lights flickered. Agents shouted. Chaos erupted. Luca pressed his forehead to Ava's. "If this is the last moment before they take me," he murmured, "I'm spending it with you." Ava's breath broke into a sob. "Please, don't do this." "I'm not leaving you alone," he said. "I'm leaving you safe." And then he kissed her. It was everything. Rough and soft, desperate and steady, a vow and a goodbye tangled into one breath. Ava clung to him, fingers gripping his jacket, kissing him back like she could hold him there forever. But Luca pulled back first, not because he wanted to, because he had to. Marco appeared from behind a beam. "Boss, the path is clear." Luca grabbed Ava's shoulders. "Go." She shook her head, crying harder. "I'm not leaving you." "You are," he said firmly, "because you deserve a life that isn't spent running." A violent bang echoed as agents breached another entrance. Luca kissed her forehead. "Tell me you'll live. Tell me you'll fight. Tell me you'll wait." Ava sobbed. "I'll do whatever it takes." He nodded. "Good. Because when I'm out, I'm coming home to you." Ava leaned in, whispering against his jaw, "I love you." His breath trembled, the first sign of breaking she had seen in him. "I love you too," he said, voice rough. "Now go, go." Marco grabbed Ava's arm, pulling her toward the tunnel door. "No," she cried, reaching back. "Luca, Luca." Luca spun toward the agents storming in. Gun aimed, posture strong, a wall between Ava and the world. Marco shoved her through the tunnel. The door slammed shut. Ava screamed his name, but the sound was swallowed by the explosion Marco triggered, sealing the passage behind them. In the dark tunnel, Ava fell to her knees, sobbing violently. Marco crouched in front of her. "He'll be okay. He's fought worse." Ava wiped her face. "He said he loves me." Marco gave her a faint smile. "Yeah, that's how I knew he'd go after you." Luca doesn't love easily, but when he does, it changes everything. Ava's voice shook. "What do we do now?" Marco helped her stand. "Now, we disappear, and we give him time." 3 months later, a small coastal town. Warm sunlight, waves against rocks. Ava sat at a cafe table overlooking the ocean, a book open in front of her, but unread. Every day for 90 days, she had checked the news, the whispers, the rumors. Luca Moretti arrested, or Luca Moretti escaped, or Luca Moretti dead. None were true. He had vanished, just like Marco said he would. Ava closed her eyes. She missed him. His voice, his touch, his impossible protectiveness, his furious devotion. She missed him like missing a piece of herself. Then, a shadow fell across her table. She opened her eyes and forgot how to breathe. Luca stood there, bruised, tired, scarred, but alive, and looking at her like he'd crossed countries, oceans, entire worlds, just to be here. Ava rose slowly from her chair, tears streaming. Luca reached her first. He framed her face with both hands, his hands shaking, and pulled her into the hardest, deepest, most desperate kiss of her life. When he finally pulled away, his forehead rested against hers. "I told you," he whispered. "I'd come home." Ava let out a choked laugh. "Are you hurt?" "Nothing that matters." "And the feds?" "Handled." He traced her jaw with his thumb. "I gave them what they needed. Not me. Not you." She frowned. "What did you give them?" "Everything," he said. "Everything I ever built that could hurt you." Her breath caught. "You walked away?" "I traded the empire," he murmured, "to keep you." Tears fell freely now. "Luca." He lifted her chin. "You were never my property," he said softly. "You were my salvation and my choice. Always my choice." Ava kissed him again, hands in his hair, heart healed in one breath. Luca cupped her waist, pulling her closer. "Come with me," he said. "Let's build something that won't get either of us killed." Ava smiled through tears. "What does that look like?" Luca shrugged. "I don't know. Something normal. Something ours." She laughed. "You? Normal? For you? I'll learn." He kissed her again, slower this time, full of promise. A future, a life, a love that survived hell. When they finally pulled apart, Ava whispered against his lips, "I want forever." Luca smiled. "Forever is already yours." He held her hand, she held his. And together they walked into a new life, free, whole, and finally unafraid. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.